Good afternoon and welcome to this month's show. I'm Luke McCormack. During today's show, we will discuss best practices with IT modernization strategies in the federal government. With me on today's show are Lou Scherler, Deputy Chief Information Officer, Department of Labor; Michael Metrovich, Principal Deputy Chief Information Officer, Department of State; Devarius Peoples, Chief Information Officer, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers; Fred Ferreras, Director, Wireline Sales, Department of Defense at Verizon; Bridget Scanlon, Solutions Consulting Manager, ServiceNow; and Kelsey Nelson, Senior Solutions Manager at Octa. Well, we're talking about IT modernization, and let's face it, the world now knows what we've all known for many, many years is how critical it is to modernize and do it in a modern way. If you're going to prepare for these types of situations that we've all been facing over the last 6 months, you have to have a modern environment that you can scale in, that's hardened, that you can adapt new features and capabilities. Lou, let's start with you. I know there's a lot of modernization going on over there at the Department of Labor. Tell us how that journey is going.
Sure, and thank you for having the Department of Labor back this year. Last year,
Our
we
pleasure.
talked about the diverse set of mission work across 27 agencies. I think we've gone a long way in modernizing our infrastructure this past year. We've been focusing on IT commodities and legacy applications. One of the first things we did is increase our cybersecurity posture. Did some modernization, retired legacy applications, saved about $99 million. Another thing that we did was launch the common IT platform. It standardized the way we collect and share data across the agencies. One of the things that labor does is collect a lot of data, and it's important to us to be able to have the capability to share that data across all of our sub-agencies to ensure we're getting the best use of that data. Another thing we did was the Office of Foreign Labor certification. That was a paper-based product, and we digitized the issuance of those certificates to employers back in January of 2020. It eliminated a lot of the very expensive paper process, saved us about $2 million. We did an additional 11 consolidations of data centers over the past year, along with a very aggressive UC or Unified Communications upgrades. That was across 115 DOL offices. It introduced wireless into a lot of the offices and saved about $119 million for the Department of Labor.
That sounds very impressive. And I know you all were the recipient of some of the TMF funding. Maybe we can talk about that on the next set of questions. Sounds like you're really doing a lot of the blocking, tackling, laying the groundwork down, and have now sort of stacked some of that new capability, sort of up the value chain, if you will, and just in time. Department of Labor, big part of this whole pandemic response. Mike, I can't imagine what it must be like to deal with every consulate, every embassy across the entire planet Earth, and deal with what you've been dealing with over the last 6 months. It must be incredible. What's going on at Department of State these days? Give us a state of the state. No pun intended, of course.
Sure, I appreciate the opportunity. So this Department of State started on a modernization effort, moving specifically to the cloud Office 365 about 18 months ago. And just as the COVID crisis hit, we actually transitioned one of our last posts over. So, we operate in 191 countries, 276 overseas posts. And so that in and of itself was no small endeavor, but it gave us huge flexibility when the remote telework options came into force, not only in the United States, but across the globe at all of our consulates and posts. So we were able to successfully make a pivot through the use of people's personal devices or through mobile devices in their access to cloud resources, email, files, shares, stuff like that. So that was a huge effort. Along the way, though, what I have to say was a linchpin in that effort was moving the entire organization over to multi-factor authentication. We were successfully able to enroll over 100,000 users in multi-factor authentication around the December timeframe. And so that gave us an extra level of security, especially when it came to remote access for cloud resources. So those were two huge endeavors right out of the gate. We also implemented 2 different collaboration platforms enterprise-wide, so that gave us the ability to do collaborative meetings as the COVID crisis kicked in. That was a big lift. And we've also, as people have been coming back to the office, and we've kind of had a bifurcated workforce, we've begun the implementation of wireless within our facilities to effectively give people the same type of flexibility and mobility that they had at home while they have in the office. And we've even recently started a hoteling pilot where people can now reserve cube space in the office. And that helps us from a densification perspective. So now we can understand how many people we actually have in the office. We don't overcrowd the office. People are able to adjust their shifts for times when they come into the office according to the requirements of the job, and they can kind of balance that off with any of the requirements that they have at home. So all of those have been incredibly positive for us as we move forward. And we've just recently launched a reimagined task force agency-wide, which is kind of looking, based on how we've moved to telework, what are the types of situations that we want to expand on? What are the lessons learned from that? And where do we see, from an information technology perspective, the department 2 to 3 to 5 years down the road? So all in all, it's been a very aggressive move, a lot of moving parts, but thus far I think we've weathered the storm.
Really put yourself in a position to execute on that. I think you're the first IT professional that I've heard that took environments that were in the home and then fast forward them back into the office environment. That's pretty impressive. And I think the silver lining is that we've all fast forwarded this technology and introduced it in new ways to enable the mission, whatever your mission may be. Dovarius, how about at the U.S. Corps of Engineers? I think about critical infrastructure, dams, et cetera. And I think about the work that's going on over the Corps of Engineers. Tell us about what's happening over there and your modernization journey.
Yeah, so it's first, thanks for the opportunity. It's been an interesting as well as exciting times at the Corps of Engineers. I always like to say I'm proud to be your CIO from the Corps of Engineers because, as you know, we're spread out 55 districts, 9 divisions inside of the United States, as well as 123 countries. We have about close to 40,000 users actively that use the system from inside of the Corps from a federal standpoint. So we are spread out very, very disparately. One of the things that we've done from a modernization perspective, we've begun to collaborate a lot more with the department, being at a DoD as an Army entity. So we've rolled out many capabilities such as the commercial virtual remote environment, CVR, which is known to many. That is pretty much a Microsoft O365 team-based communication collaboration tool that allows us to collaborate effectively across all departments, not just within the Department of the Army. So that has also enhanced how we collaborate and how we have the ability to be able to do mission. It's about 4 million users that actually use that system DoD-wide, and the Army has roughly between 600 to 1,000 users that have pretty much locked in. So we are definitely moving forward on that journey. From inside of the Corps, one of the things we began to do for modernization is really look at how we use data as a strategic asset. So we have started on our data strategy from a modernization journey. Being able to receive data from authoritative sources, looking at those repositories, identifying how to properly secure it, and then being able to make informed decisions. We've also begun to move forward with our data center consolidation or our Equinix modernization. When we first started COVID-19, we were going through the thick of things. For the first 3 days, it was very tough within the Corps. We started out with a data center fiber cut. That data center fiber cut spanned from Mississippi to New Orleans. However, in Mississippi, that's one of our major data centers. And with that being said, we lost all comms for about 12 hours. So we started off pretty rocky. So we had to immediately identify how can we modernize and ensure that comms were stable. So we began to partner with some of our partners and looking at it from an Equinix or an as a service capability. So we began to strategically place ourselves inside of the United States to ensure that comms are always up and steady. So we've done a lot to be able to move the ball forward from a modernization perspective, and the journey is still going because ultimately the CG wants to be a true digital organization. And in order to do that, we had to really enhance our infrastructure, which we've started that journey now. So in 2021, we'll be able to receive a lot of those benefits from a modernization perspective.
Well, we certainly appreciate you being transparent, and it is amazing when you start modernizing in this modern way and using these tools and techniques, all of a sudden the resiliency, the redundancy, the scale, the security sort of just becomes incorporated into these solutions. And it's fantastic that you're delivering these type of capabilities to the Corps. Now let's go to Fred over at Verizon. I would imagine you all are just right smack in the thick of it. We've had you on a couple of shows, and it's just incredible the capability that you all are laying down in order to enable all these good things to happen.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate the opportunity here. As Lou and Mike and the various have laid out their priorities, their initiatives, Verizon's role in all of this is obviously to support them in the IT modernization journey, and then, in response to what's going on with COVID. We focus on supporting all these various initiatives, and we try to be a technology partner of choice and spend time educating the government on new technologies that are available and new methodologies to bring them to bear. We try, especially under COVID-19, our focus has been on improving the application performance and the network performance itself, as we have transitioned to this telework environment over the last 5-6 months. It's put a tremendous strain on the network and application performance. And we have partnered with many of our customers, many of the agencies here to improve that network and the application performance so that folks can continue to support their critical missions from home, something that we've not done in the past. And when you look to the future, I don't know that much of that's going to change. So we're going to go back to this probably a hybrid model where we're going to need to continue to support from our federal facilities, as well as continue to work from anywhere that our government workers may be located.
Yeah, I would say that of all the parts of the ecosystem, the telecommunications piece is one area that is just getting leaned on significantly. I think you all have done a brilliant job of stepping up to the challenge. Bridget, how about at ServiceNow? What a fantastic technology, and what a fantastic time to have that technology available, so that these departments and agencies and quite frankly all across the private sector can deliver on the promise of enabling their operations, their mission, sort of name your environment, name your sector. What is happening at ServiceNow these days?
Yeah, thanks, Luke. So yeah, I've been with ServiceNow probably about 6.5 years now, and through that, over time, I've been working with a number of agencies who are going through a modernization effort. Obviously in today's times, we are focused on, trying to expedite some of those efforts, right? And taking on new ones to help folks offer up more, digital services or support the staff that are now working from home and may have unique needs around their IT assets, right? And security of those assets. But I'll share with you actually just a specific modernization story. And this is for a large federal law enforcement agency. These are typical challenges that I see. So the challenges they were experiencing was, just given the nature of their operations, even a brief outage would have a major impact on US economy, on national security. So with that mission of critical systems and processes that have to run that 24/7 operation, they couldn't rapidly respond enough to support the agents and the officers that were out in the field. In addition, the Office of IT was requiring a lot of manual intervention. So there was lack of visibility into the requests of the officers and agents. As a result, even a very simple process of things like ordering a cloud instance, ordering a device could take up to 45 days. So the agency really lacked that sort of true digital experience. And again, that's what we see a demand for today, right? An absolute need for today. So a couple of key outcomes they were looking for and have started to achieve, but hope to make more progress on, was just better self-service capabilities. So a streamlined intake, allowing folks to go and make their own requests, right, through a system that didn't require that manual intervention. And to provide a platform to respond to those requests. So a way to work the requests within the agency that allow for support for some automation and better visibility and really just efficiencies in the process. That allows them to better predict when systems will have excess pressure on them, right? So, or perhaps security risks on them. And it also, one of their other goals is to consolidate management of the projects and those project tasks that are happening. And so allowing folks within different departments to be better able to work together and to have the same visibility and access to things. And again, you know, in current environment of everyone or a large majority of folks working from home, it's absolutely a critical requirement there.
Right, be able to do it real time. As soon as you start to digitize these environments, right, and create this workflow, all of a sudden you've got a much more secure environment. You've got you can audit the capability, you can do predictive maintenance, all kinds of capability that you can do as you link that stuff together. And I'm sure we'll hear more about this very powerful platform that is available to all the departments and agencies. Kelsey, let's talk about Octa, and a very critical piece of the ecosystem as we look at a sort of a modern environment, a multi-cloud environment, a digital environment.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks, Luke, for having us today. You know, a lot of the themes that we've heard today around consolidation, around security, are absolutely what we've been seeing across the federal sector. You know, certainly those themes have been accelerated quite a bit over the past 6 months. And I think what's interesting from where we sit within the identity space is we have sort of a unique perspective between all of those different resources and all of the people, which, you know, I think Devarius mentioned before. You know, we're here to support all of our users and make them as productive and as secure as possible as they accomplish their missions. And so what we've been seeing from an IT modernization in enabling that is certainly around consolidation from all of these disparate identity stores. Also being able to adopt and shift a lot of those resources into the cloud, but while maintaining, we know that not every resource is going to be a cloud, at least in the near future. And then on top of that, making sure that we're enabling that security, right? And so how can we balance allowing and enabling our users regardless of where they are? I know, you know, everyone has mentioned here that need to really shift rapidly when the pandemic hit a few months ago, but how can we protect them regardless of where they're doing their work? And so I think a lot of those trends that we'd seen had started certainly before the pandemic, but were really accelerated over the last few months is a lot of our partnership today.
So critical to harden those multifaceted environments, if you will, as we're in this sort of new normal, as everyone likes to call it, and identity being a big part of that. We all know that it's one of the number one vector areas where you know, an identity gets hijacked, and you know, sort of we know the rest of that story. So very important technology to make sure that we're modernizing properly. All right, we're going to take a short break and we'll be right back. You're listening to the Federal Executive Forum on Federal News Network.